Today we return to paragraph 33, the witness of John, looking at John 3:22 to 36. Oh, we finished 33. Oh, we're on 34.
Yeah.
That's right, paragraph 34, the withdrawal from Judea, which has a number of passages that are covered, and from what some people, and they asked me about some questions, apparently there's some verses I neglected to put in here. So we'll have to go along. Initially, I have on there Matthew 4:12, Mark 1:14, Luke 3:19 to 20, Luke 4:14, and John 4:1 to 4. And I think there were some questions for some verses that were not included, which would be Mark 6:17 to 18. And Matthew 14:5, Mark 6:19 to 20. So we'll have to see if you were able to find some of these things as we go along. All right, so it's kind of difficult when there's so many verses like this, especially scattered even within one of the Gospels. And this particular section is something that's dealt with at different points in the different Gospels. So it makes it a little difficult to put all together. But we'll do what we can here. Number 62, from what two sources did Jesus expect trouble causing him to leave Judea? Did we talk about that before? No, I think it was somebody talking to me about it. It seems familiar. Okay, what is one source that you found, Emma?
He was afraid of being arrested by Herod.
Yeah, Herod Antipas had already imprisoned John the Baptist, and so there was a concern that he might try to arrest Jesus as well, because what happens to the herald happens to the king. Anybody? How many of you had that? He was afraid of Herod the Great, or Herod Antipas. Okay, good. What's the second source? Jonas?
Pharisees.
Right, the Pharisees were opposing him as well. How many had the Pharisees? Okay, good. How many had both of those? Okay, most of you got that. Good. So that'll be 2 points. The next question is, who put John the Baptist in prison? And then why did he do this? Okay, who put him in prison to begin with? Nate?
Herod.
Could you be more specific? That's like saying
The trade
Smith, in a way, among kings. What's that?
track of
Tetrarch. Tetrarch, yeah. Everybody say it together. Tetrarch. Okay, now that you've said it, what is it? What's a tetrarch? How many of you looked it up? So that means I should be able to ask any of you, and you can tell me what it is, right? Since you didn't look it up. Griff, what's a tetrarch?
The governor is a governor of one of 4 divisions of the country.
You just now look it up? The time to do that is when you're looking at a passage. All right, it's kind of a governor. It's sort of a mini king. It is a king, but it's underneath, of course, the Roman Emperor, Roman Empire. But we also know his full name. We're not given to it in the Gospels here, but we do know his name. What is his name? Herod the Tetrarch has a full name.
Herod Antipas.
Right, or Antipas. And does anybody know what his relationship was to the other Herod we saw, Herod the Great?
He was the son of Herod.
Right, son of Herod the Great. Okay. I know it's hard to keep track maybe of all the different Herods, but he's a pretty important one. So let's remember Herod the Great, and then one of his sons is Herod Antipas, because he's going to have a lot to do here in the Gospels. Okay, so the second part of that is, why did he do this? Why did he put John the Baptist in prison? What do you have, Lexi?
Because he reproved Herod for marrying his brother's wife.
Because who did what? Who's he?
John, or yeah, I don't know.
See, the problem is when you use pronouns in an answer, later on you forget who the pronoun is. And the question is, who put John the Baptist in prison? Why did he do this? Who put him in was Herod. And then if you say he, that sort of sounds like Herod, but I don't think that's what you mean. Emma, can you put it more clearly?
He,
Who's he?
or, sorry.
Here we go again.
Sorry. Herod
Antipas. Okay,
Antipas.
let's everybody say Antipas. Let's try it again. Antipas. That is weak. This is what's going to be like the first day of the new grading period. You're so worn out from the last grading period that you can't even say a word together.
Honestly, though.
Okay, go ahead, Emma.
Herod
Antipas.
Arrested John because John had condemned the king's marriage.
Okay, yeah, he condemned the king's marriage. Why? Emma?
Because he was married. Herod was marrying his brother's wife.
Yeah, he married his brother's wife while his brother was still alive. So, you know, the quick summary of it is he was visiting his brother and took a liking to his wife and kind of wooed her away. So she's living with her brother-in-law, had married him then, and what complicates matters even further is she was also the niece of both of them. So she married one uncle and then married another uncle. In the Herodian family, that's not one of the worst things that happens. All right, so the two parts of this, Herod Antipas or Herod the Tetrarch put John the Baptist in prison, and he did it because John the Baptist was criticizing his marriage to Herodias. That's her name, if you got that. So Herod married Herodias, his niece. Yes.
I just put King Herod. Does that not count because it's not specific enough?
We'll allow that because the Gospels don't necessarily say much more than that. But I want you to understand who it was. So try to get in your minds, this is Herod Antipas. Okay, 2 points, number 63. Any questions? Interesting times. Number 64, which Herod is this? Oh, well, that's we've already kind of talked about that. Where does he fit in the family tree? We've already mentioned that too. Which Herod is this? Let's everybody say it together.
Herod.
Okay, that was better. And then where does he fit in the family tree?
Son of Herod the Great.
Right, son of Herod the Great, and the uncle of his wife Herodias. If you want to stick that in there. Jonas?
I didn't put that he was the son of Herod the Great. I put he was the brother of Herod Philip.
Okay, all right. That's also part of the family tree. Herod Philip was the name of his brother who had first married Herodias. So you got Herodias marrying her one uncle Herod and then leaving him to marry another uncle Herod. Maybe she just got mixed up. She saw the name. No. All right, you got that? Is that kind of clear? No? Okay, so we have which Herod is this is a point, and where does he fit in the family tree? Would be another point. 2 points, 64. Do you have any question about your answers there? All right, number 65. What two reasons are given for why Herod did not execute John? Now, was this one that was not in the verses that I gave you? Okay,
You have to give
so
us extra verses.
so we won't count this one against you, but who was able to find an answer? Luke?
Was afraid of the people.
Yeah, one, Herod was afraid of the people. And let's see, which passage is that? Matthew 14:5. Okay. That, I didn't give you that?
You gave us the two passages, like we asked in class, and you gave to us.
Oh, okay. So that's where you. And I even in my text I have the question before the text that's there. Okay, so one is Herod was afraid of the people, and what's the second reason? Anybody find that? What's the second reason, Brad?
John was a righteous and holy man.
Yeah, so he was kind of afraid of John. So in a way you could say he was afraid of the people because the people really liked John, and he's afraid of John because God really seemed to like John. That's kind of how that goes. You know, he was a holy, righteous man, so he's kind of afraid of him. You know, you don't want to go against somebody like that. That might not be good for your health. So, two reasons. All right, so how many of you were able to find that? Okay, we'll count those. Well, the rest of you was because you didn't have the verses. Those of you that missed it, I don't remember. Did I give you these verses in
Yes.
class?
Yeah.
So everybody should have been able to find it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we'll count those so that the rest of you can rack up some points here. 2 points, number 65. Any question about your answer for anybody? All right, next, number 66. How did Herod's attitude towards John the Baptist differ from that of Herodias? What'd you say to that, Joel?
Herodias held a grudge against John and wanted to put him to death.
Yeah, but whereas Herod, what? Now, remember, anytime you're comparing or contrasting two people, you need to say what both of them are saying, or what both of them are like. Everybody get that? When you're asked to contrast two things or two people, you can make sure you say something about both of them. Otherwise, you're not really contrasting or comparing. You're just saying one thing. So on the one hand, Herodias held a grudge against him, but on the other hand, what about Herod?
Herod was afraid of him, so he kept him safe.
All right, so he was afraid of him. There's something else we could say about it too.
He was interested in what he had to say.
Yeah, he kind of liked listening to John. It doesn't seem likely, does it, when you have taken away the wife of your brother and are now living with her and married her, and a preacher's going around the countryside preaching against you, that you would like listening to him. But that was the case. There's something about John that Herod Antipas liked. Maybe he liked his courage. Because he was speaking the word of God, somehow that was attractive to him as well. So that's the contrast between the two. Since you had to put two things down there to really answer the question properly, one about what Herodias thought and one what Herod thought, we'll give 2 points on that one. If you only put one thing down, then you only get 1 point. All right, so let's go back through and count our points. And before we do that, let me just say that I'll give you time now to work on paragraph 34. 35. Somehow I got a number off here. So we'll work on 35 for tomorrow.
Yep.